Quad 66.
And Captain Ryder here, and today we're talking about the Xing Nano motors.
Those are these little guys. So these are brand new 1202s, and we've got the 8000 kV version. They also come in 10,000 kV. And we're primarily flying them on 2S with a small battery, a 300 milliamp battery, and flying it primarily with these HQ 3015 props. And there is a lot of details to talk about here.
And this is also pretty hard video to film.
Yeah, this is like our 10th take, 20th, I don't know.
Yeah.
So, but let's start out. What we want to start out first with is just kind of first impressions. So overall first impression, Ryder, thumbs up, thumbs down, medium thumbs. What do you think?
Double thumbs up.
Double thumbs up.
They flew awesome.
Wow, okay. I agree too. And so I agree, and the one thing I want to put out there is I feel like I finally have a very lightweight build that can control 3-inch props. They can control them well enough to where I get the responsiveness that I've been looking for on 3-inch props I haven't gotten before. Okay. So where should we go? Should we do some comparisons?
Yes, comparisons.
Okay. We're going to start with your comparison, right? All right. So who's that guy?
This is my other 2S build.
Yep. And he's on 1102 motors, so slightly smaller motors, and also slightly smaller props. So those are the 2.5-inch props. Those are the HQ T65 props. Mm-hmm. And how would you compare to this? Well, let me make you pick one. Which one, if you had to pick just one, would you pick the 1102 or the 1202?
That's really hard to say, but between these two, I would say this guy.
Which one? 1202?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. I'm
Okay.
kind of blown away of what I thought there, but yeah.
I thought, see, when we were flying earlier, because what we did earlier, right, is we flew them back to back, and I thought you were going to go the other way. But why are you making the decision for 1202s?
It's just this one flew great. So he flew great. There's much more spots that he would be a little bit better than this guy.
Okay.
And that's why I decided him, because he flew a little bit better on a bunch of spots that this guy might be a little weak at.
Okay. So what's the biggest spot, do you think?
Probably the dive. When you're diving at either a split S.
Okay, so if you're doing a big punch out and then diving from a split S, what would they do differently?
This guy felt like he had more control.
Okay, so that's the 1202. So when he's diving,
he felt like I could control him a little more on the dive. Mm-hmm. This guy I felt like I had less control diving.
Okay, so better control on the dive. So like this guy was tracking straighter. Mm-hmm. Is that how about when you're coming to the bottom of the dive and you got to catch him and control him at the bottom of the dive? Who is catching the bottom of the dive better?
This guy, my 2S build.
Really? So the 1102s?
Yes.
Caught the bottom of the dives a little bit better. But so what we had is if you're doing a big split S, you're diving down, this guy's more controlled, the 1202 is more controlled.
Yes.
But actually catching and arresting the dive, the 1102s were a little bit better.
But I'm going to say it's a slight difference. It's not a big difference on how they catch. It's a very, very slight.
Okay. Interesting. Good.
So it's not that big.
And then if we're going into, let's talk about some other stuff. How about if
what would your comparison be?
My comparison. Okay, so my comparison is this guy flies bigger. So the 1202s are less nimble, and you just feel like there's more leverage and more precision. And if I had to just pick one, yes, I would go with the 1202, but the 1102 has a really special characteristic too, where it's so nimble, and it's got so little mass that you're moving around that it feels smaller and it feels juicier. Juicier is kind of the way I would describe it, where it's like it's more nimble, but it does it in a less like rigid, less precise kind of way, but it in a good way. If that's a little hard to describe. Anyways, but so what would you say, Ryder, in terms of like one of the things we do is we're doing like kind of the low throttle stuff when we're doing the little slalom around the bushes. In that spot, how'd you feel they compare?
So this guy wanted to.
So the 1202?
Yes, the 1202 wanted to slide. Kind of wanted to do his own thing going through it. I felt like I had less control. But this one, my 2S build,
The 1102 build?
I would definitely say he's definitely better at going through bushes than the 1202 build, I believe.
Yeah, and I'd agree with that. On the real low throttle, when we're doing that little bush slalom, the throttle resolution at the bottom end with these 1102s and the T65s is a little bit better. That is one of the weak points of the 1202 build, and I had to do some advanced tuning on the 1202s. I had to use a really high idleman RPM so that you didn't get into the situation where as you're kind of coming in real low throttle, with dynamic idle, I was getting some bounce where it'd be hard to kind of get the low throttle resolution right, and you kind of bounce up and down in it.
Yeah, that's it. You were saying that earlier when we were doing the comparison.
And that slide thing, yes, this carries more weight and momentum, and so when you're going into those corners, it doesn't air brake as much, and so you got to be more aggressive on the sticks. So the 1102s, it's just easier to fly. Because this guy, when you're coming into those slow things, he slows down and air brakes and makes it easier to get through those turns. All right. Anything else on that comparison?
No.
No? Okay.
Now your turn to kind of talk about like other stuff that I probably want to know.
Some other stuff. Yeah, I'll do one other comparison.
Okay.
So one other comparison to consider is 1103s. So these are the AMAX motor 1103, 7,500 kV. And flying them with the the HQ T65 prop. I think these two quads will appeal to different people in different ways. Although this is the smaller quad, it's like more compact weight with a smaller prop. And so if you really want to like kind of throw stuff, so if you want to throw a big move like over a big split S, this guy throws better and has less air braking than the 1202. Also, with the 1103, you get more throttle resolution. So this guy has more top end versus the 1202s. Once you get into that top end, it's a little bit on-off in the power. Like the power comes on quick and with a lot of authority, but it gives up a little bit at the top end. And so in our small space, this doesn't fly. For me, it's harder to control than the 1202. But I think if you're in bigger spaces, more open space, this still might be a more interesting option. Or on the 1202s or on the 3015 props, you need to go to like a bigger motor or something else. All right.
I think that's it for the comparison.
For the comparisons. Okay.
Next little segment.
Should we talk about let's talk about some of the details of the motor?
Details, yes.
Okay. A couple quirks on these motors. Let's talk about some of the details. One of the things on these motors that I do not like is you can kind of see it here where the do you see how the shaft kind of sticks out below it? You can actually see it. Yeah, see how it sticks out below? And that washer and that C-clip is actually pretty big, to where on this frame I actually had to drill out the center hole a little bit to 4 millimeters.
Oh boy.
To get it to fit. And I've actually updated the frames to be able to fit these motors. And so that was an annoying little quirk, and that seems to be a Xing thing, because I saw in the 1103s they kind of have that same sort of design. But if your frame accepts it, then that's totally fine. But just something to be aware of, that these definitely stick out more, and you might have some interference with some frames.
The other thing we were talking about in the last take is how nice the windings were.
Yeah. So let's compare them to some of the other motors in this sort of size category. These are gnarly FPV 1203s, 7,000 kV. Totally different KV. This is going to be for 1S, but this is the FPV cycle, 1202.5 and 11,500 KV, and obviously our Xing. The quality seems pretty nice. You've got these nice curved magnets on them, and also if you look at the windings, the winding is real nice and clean.
Yeah.
You can see it right there.
Like I mentioned.
Yeah, nice, really clean windings and nice curved magnets. Nice.
I would say those are my favorite windings I've ever seen. Like, those are my favorite.
They work pretty well. One of the things, though, I get a little bit concerned about, or I wish that these came in a higher, or like that tweener KV, because you can get the RCN power in either a really low 5800 kV or 11,500 kV, and I wish they made these in kind of middle road 7,500, 8,000 kV motor. The reason for that is because if you look at these FPV cycles, do you see that metal ring around the magnets? See how thick that is? So this ring right there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, see how thick that is? I think that's one of the reasons that these motors are actually really durable and they stay smooth quite well. And I'm not sure. We're gonna do a follow video, after we've flown these things and really beat them up and see how smooth they stay. But this ring does not seem quite as thick as that, and so durability may be a little bit of a factor. Also, obviously, then between these, these are 2mm shafts and those are 1.5mm shafts. I am flying them with nylon screws to reinforce them so that they don't, basically so those screws take some of the abuse and kind of save the shaft a little bit. And weight-wise, okay, so weight-wise, these come in at 4.18 grams compared to the FPV cycle, 4.25 grams. And these gnarly FPV motors, which unfortunately they don't make anymore, which are 1203s, these came in at 4.75 grams. And I think that's pretty noticeable where on this motor, when you build it up, the quad just starts to get to me kind of heavy. It's sort of like where I start to get concerned flying this around when the dogs are out or when Ryder's out, versus the 1202s. It's just, yes, it's only 4 grams difference, but that 4 grams plus the weight plus the speed, to me it does feel just a little bit different. Other things. Oh, so with these motors, within where we're flying, I think they match up really well. I think the performance envelope fits really well. But when I tried flying these on bigger batteries, so there's some 525s to us, they didn't carry this weight very well. To me, they kind of fell apart, and I think you need to stay in 300 milliamp battery. An ideal might be these guys here. So these are race day quads, 350, and these are with the XT30. We've been flying a lot on these PH2, and there is some battery sag there. I think the PH2 is not quite enough in connector. Fortunately, it sounds like the G&B connector, which is going to be a tweener in between the PH2 and the XT30, is finally coming out. So I'll probably be moving over to that connector once it's available. But yeah, with these motors, these may not carry weight super well, so you want to be mindful of that when you're building things up. They are right now smooth, although out of, I think we bought 9 motors, I had one that came out of the package a little sticky. There's a little rough spot on this one, so we're saving it as a backup motor. Otherwise, they were nice and smooth and well balanced. And I would say, like, I really love this combination. Other than the HQ 3015 prop is not that well balanced. It's not that consistent in the balance, and I'm going to do a whole nother video on props because there's too many things to talk about, and we're already almost at 15 minutes. So that's what I think I have to say about these motors. Your thoughts, Ryder? Anything else to add on there?
Just they flew well.
They flew well?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll talk about, so I flew them on a bunch of different props. I'll talk about that in another video, because you can fly them on T65s, you can fly them on the GemFan 3018s, you can do them on these other props, but that's another discussion. Mm-hmm. Okay. We're going to call it good there?
Yep.
Okay, and so then the DVR already put up, and I'll link it below, but if you want to go back to the prior video, that video is from this setup. and it's these 1202s with a 3015. Note that it is crazy windy when I was doing that, yet I still hit some lines pretty well with it, and I think that was kind of a testament to how well these are controlled. And really the only thing that's like, come on HQ, just give us a balanced prop, please. Like, I mean, you can do it. You did it with the T65. Do it for these. Come on. Help us out here.
I think that's about it.
All right. Sounds good to me.
Till next time. Cheers.
Cheers.